Okay guys, so in today's video we're going to be doing some updates. Now it is February, so you might be expecting me to do another reptile room tour, but I did just do a video with the tropical vivarium doing a full update. I'll stick it up here, I think it's going to appear, a link to that video, but I did a full update on that not long ago, so there's nothing to talk about there really. And then nothing's really happened with the geckos as per usual, so I didn't want to waste another 5 minutes of video time telling you that everything's going okay with them. But quite a lot has actually happened recently in terms of updates with Red and Char. Now, Red the corn snake is still in brumation, and in today's video we're going to be taking him out, and I'll show you how I maintain him during brumation. And obviously Char the bearded dragon has decided that brumation is over, and we're going to kick off today's video by giving him a feed. Now I am going to talk about Char waking up in full detail in a moment, but first I just want to talk about what I'm going to be feeding him in the next couple of shots, and also the thinking behind it. So in here we do have his salad. It's got a bit of pak choy, some spring greens and a bit of tomato. Now I'm going to be dusting this in a second with this product called Vermex. Natural control of intestinal hygiene is pretty much what this product is. So it's basically like a herbal remedy that you dust onto the food 3 times a month, and the idea basically is to keep the gut flora and fauna in good health. Now, with Char having been in brumation, it is important that you do check on the gut health regularly, and so for bearded dragons and tortoises and things that do go into heavy brumations, using a product like Vermex is a very good idea. Now, as well as that, I am going to be using some of this, which is Arcadia's Dragon Fuel that they actually sent me to try out a while ago and I've not had a go with yet. I'll be sprinkling some of this on, and this is basically like just a mix of all sorts of different plants. I'll show you the ingredients now. So it's got plenty of different stuff in it, and it basically just makes it easy to increase dietary variety, which is incredibly important. So now that Char's dinner's ready, let's pop it in and see what he thinks. So Char's never really been the biggest fan of his vegetables, but he has been getting better with them, and I haven't fed him properly since he woke up, which means that he hasn't eaten properly since October really, so hopefully the little fella will come over and have something to eat. We'll just watch him for a minute and then I'll talk about him waking up from brumation. So you might remember that a while ago I did actually try and wake Char up from brumation, which is what my vet had told me to do because of his small size. He is a year old now, but he wasn't when he first started going into brumation. So we weren't sure whether he'd take it so well, but obviously he has. You can see he's running about, even better than, to be honest, than before he went asleep. But basically, he just told me when it was time to wake up. So one day in the last week, I came out and checked, and he was just sat up there on his basking platform. The lights weren't on or anything. He was just sat there waiting for them to come on because he knows that that's where it's warm. So basically, he was just telling me, you know, I've had 3 months in brumation, and I want to wake up now. And so here he is, larger than life. Come on then. You gotta come for it if you want it. Here. Good boy. So obviously the veg was not much of a success, but I'm going to leave it in and I will let you know if Char goes for it. I mean, I'm sort of hoping that he'll run past and just start taking it while I'm talking here. But I am going to try this year really to get him more weaned onto vegetables, because obviously as Char's getting older, being a bearded dragon, he ought to start eating more and more plant matter and less insect matter, which is more to do with his health in captivity, because in the wild they're thought to be more sort of insectivorous than anything, but in captivity they don't have that space to run round as much, so giving them high calorie insects all the time is not going to be good for their overall health. Either way though, Char seems to be really happy. He does need a good feed, to be honest, and he's ready to eat loads of dubia roaches. I just don't want to give in too soon this year. But anyway, now that we've taken a look at Char, why don't we take a look at Red? So Red the corn snake is still very much in brumation. It'll probably be coming out at the end of this month, but with corn snakes, as opposed to bearded dragons, they sort of do things on your terms as far as I understand. If you cool them down, then they'll go into brumation. If you warm them up, then they'll snap out of it. So you as an owner have a lot more sort of control over it, whereas with a bearded dragon you more or less let them take charge and just help them along with the process. Now, what I'm going to be doing with Red in a second is taking him out to weigh him, but before I do, I will just address the fact, you might recall that I actually put him into brumation as a bit of a urgent matter type of thing, because his thermostat broke, or, well, it had been broken since I bought it and I had to send it off for repairs. Now, I'll talk about that in full detail in a second, because I do have updates on it, but for now, let's take Red out of his hide and give him away. So just as we get into this clip, I am going to make an apology already, because Char is running round in his viv, as I've just shown you, and he's right by us, and he's sort of scratching the glass and scratching the side of his viv, and jumping on branches and all sorts. So if he makes a bit of noise, then that's what that is. So anyway, back on focus. Red the corn snake, I've got him in my hands here and I'm just lifting him round to be weighed. He is doing really well in brumation, of course, and he's been in brumation for over a month now. He feels cold to the touch. So I've actually been brumating him quite cold, sort of 10 to 15 degrees, which is really, really cold, but corn snakes do have to get that cold to brumate. I have heard of people trying to brumate them at like 15, 16 degrees and have that as the minimum temperature, and they won't do it. But Red, in my case, has been doing really well. Now, I was getting worried about him a bit because he had lost a full 10 grams over the course of a couple of weeks, and I was afraid that he was losing weight because he was ill. But as it turned out, there was nothing really wrong with him, he just hadn't had a drink. So I put him back in his viv and showed him the water, because I was thinking he hadn't had a drink in a while, and after showing him that, I've just noticed that Char has actually just spotted Red and he looks quite afraid, so I might hurry up with this. But so Red had lost some weight and I thought he's not had a drink, so let's just check him, give him a drink, see how he is, and he actually put the weight straight back on. It was literally just the mass of the water he'd lost. But anyway, last time I weighed him he was 573 grams. Or 83 I think. I've got my records now, so I'll just go and check, but if we set him in here, if you just put your head down, buddy, so 580, which means only 3 grams over the course of a fortnight since he last had a big drink. He's not drinking that much in brumation, I have to show him the water and all that, but that is a perfectly happy, good weight for him. Now, I did say about Char spotting Red. I'll just show you what I mean, because there you go. You can see that Char has eyed up Red, and he is not letting him out of his sights. He's not like, that is not Char's food face. He's not thinking, is that a big worm? Can I eat it? He is definitely afraid of him. You can see his beard's actually going a little bit black. So when people are like talking about putting animals near each other, that is just a prime example of how an animal's natural instincts can kick in. Char's never had any experience with Red in the past whatsoever. He has no sort of learned reason to be afraid. This is literally just him getting upset because there's a snake, and obviously a snake is going to be a natural predator of a bearded dragon. Now even that I've put Red back, Char is still obviously very wary. So, just to make the point again, when people are talking about like leaving dogs and cats and stuff near the reptiles, and people say it's a bad idea because things can go wrong, well, obviously a snake is sort of a natural predator of a bearded dragon, whereas a dog or a cat is, you know, in Australia there's not really natural mammals like that, so perhaps the animals evolved to be afraid of them, but that does not mean that it's not going to be causing them any stress, even if they don't show as obvious a response as like the beard turning grey and them dropping all the bright colours. But it's definitely not something that you want to take the risk of, especially as animals like that can definitely inflict serious, if not fatal harm, or damage rather, to your other animals. So anyway guys, after that brief little event, I am going to get back to talking about where I was going with this. So you'll remember that I got a Habitat digital dimming thermostat for Red's enclosure, this being Red the corn snake's normal cage is 5x2x2 bioactive enclosure. And I'd got that new thermostat so that I could use an Arcadia deep heat projector up in his hot end over here as opposed to this ceramic heat emitter. But that thermostat, when I bought it, it didn't work properly. And I had sent it for repairs, and that was about a month ago, and I still haven't gotten it back. Apparently the fault that it's got with it is like not repairable anymore, and apparently I didn't know this had happened, but that model of thermostat is not going to be made anymore, so it's not like I can get a replacement for it. So I've been offered a refund by the company, which is fair enough I suppose, and instead I'm probably going to look into getting a microclimate Evo or something similar. I'm going to have to look into that, but that is also going to affect what's going to be happening with Speckles, the leopard gecko setup up here. My viewers will remember that this was going to be my leopard gecko's new enclosure, but I was waiting to do any more than this with it. Until I got the thermostat fixed, because the electrical system up here, where the wires went in and out, was such that you had to actually take the whole lid off this vivarium in order to move wires in and out, which meant if I put a full heavy viv up here, then I was going to be stuck basically with a broken thermostat. So I was waiting for that to get fixed, and then I was going to carry on. Now, looking in from a distance, you might remember that the electrical system for this vivarium was actually different to how it looks now, and that's because sort of the thermostat not working and stopping me putting another enclosure on top of this was really a wake-up call, to be honest, because it sort of made me realise that in the future, once I've got all this Viv stack finished, that basically, if any electricals fail, I'm going to be completely stuck, and that is not a good position to be in. So it made me think that really, instead of just waiting for the new thermostat to come, and then just having a fixed one and hoping nothing ever failed again in the future, that I had to come up with a better system for the wiring. Now, as you'll have seen from the couple of pictures that I've been throwing up, what I did was I basically cut big holes in the back sides of this enclosure and then put some plywood pieces over that allow me to screw the plywood pieces on and off in the future, allowing me to fit a whole plug head through the gap that's left there, and that'll let me change electricals in the future without thinking about the weight of other enclosures being on top of the lid, which would stop me taking it off. So of course that means that there's pretty much not much at all now that's going to stop me from doing Speckles' new setup. So I do plan to do this in the coming weeks. There's only a few things I'm waiting for, namely it's just a little bit cold out here for me to want to try and heat this up to 30 degrees, given that it's like a 3x2x2 enclosure, so it will lose heat relatively rapidly. What I want to do is just wait until Red's back in his enclosure, and so that there's some heat actually going up between them. So I won't be struggling to heat this as much, but apart from that, there's not really anything stopping me from going ahead with this now, so expect to see the new leopard gecko build out in the coming weeks. And while we're on that point, I am going to be scrapping this whole rockwork thing that I built. Took me hours, took me like a full week, spent all Boxing Day doing it, the day after that as well, and probably the next day, but I don't like it, so it's going. It didn't really cost that much. It's maybe like £20 to put all this up. And as an experience, doing foam and silicone and substrate and all that stuff, I'm never really going to be doing it again. But basically, this is how it's worked out, and I don't like it, and we're going to be doing something much better instead, I hope. So anyway, guys, that is pretty much it for today's update video. I know it's kind of all over the place today, but basically I had a lot I wanted to update you on and talk about, and I don't want to let it get in the way of other uploads I've got planned. So just sort of grab the camera and get rolling and I'll talk about it type of thing today. But I do hope that you enjoyed it regardless. I'm really glad that Char's back up now, because honestly I've been missing him, and since he's had his sleep he does seem much better. He's like running about and stuff and interested in things, whereas before he went asleep he was just dead subdued and hiding all the time, sort of like he was when he spotted Red a minute ago, not like this peeping round branches and stuff. But anyway, I really do hope that you did enjoy this video, guys, and if you did, it would help me out a lot if you were to leave a like, and if you want to see more videos like this, probably more structured in the future, but if you do want to see more, then hit subscribe and you will be notified when I upload my next video. Next week I'm planning on doing an update on the insects, how the dubia roach breeding colony is going, what I'm doing with the mealworm breeding project, also some other projects I've started and things I'm planning, but that'll be next week's video, and then probably the week after that, that will be Speckles' new setup video, which has been a long time in the coming. But anyway, guys, I did hope that you enjoyed the video, which I've said for probably the millionth time now. But anyway, I will see you in the next one, and from me and Char, bye guys.